Well, on this show, we have talked a lot about an organization called CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and we're definitely not alone in questioning the group's legitimacy and its ties to Hamas. Now, CAIR will now have to open its financial books after a former employee accused them of being funded by a foreign government, foreign governments, and terrorists. Judge David Schultz ruled last week that CAIR's donors are permissible discovery in former chapter leader Lori Soroya's defamation lawsuit. Now, Soroya filed that complaint earlier this year after CAIR dropped its own defamation lawsuit against her for allegedly implying CAIR took money from terrorist organizations. Now, Soroya's lawyer called the ruling the mother of all legal boomerangs, referring to how the defamation lawsuit backfired on CAIR itself. Now, for more on this, I want to bring in and welcome to our show, Brigitte Gabriel. She's a national security analyst, NYT bestselling author, and the chairman of actforamerica.org. Her latest book, you see there, Rise, in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedoms. Brigitte, as always, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. You know, I saw this article come down and I was like, I have to talk to Brigitte about this. What do you make of this development in this, latest lawsuit against CAIR? So the group reportedly dropped its own lawsuit against the former employee. This was in 2022 because they didn't want to reveal the names of the donors. But now they're going to have to open their financials in her defamation lawsuit against them.
Karma is so sweet. And thank you for reaching out to me. You know, I have been fighting CAIR and my organization, Act for America, actforamerica.org. We've been trying to blow the whistle on CAIR for the last 20 years and no one would listen. The reason why CAIR was founded was a cover-up for the Islamic Association for Palestine, where the United States government, during the Holy Land Foundation trial, handed down 108 guilty verdicts to Muslim American organization and Muslim American raising money in the United States to support terrorism. CAIR was an unindicted co-conspirator. And the reason why CAIR was an unindicted co-conspirator is because CAIR was birthed out of the Islamic Association for Palestine, which was Hamas's infrastructure in the United States. After the FBI was monitoring money being funneled to Hamas from America, the leaders of that organization, Islamic Association for Palestine, held a meeting in Philadelphia in a secret hotel room that the FBI wiretapped. This is when the FBI used to actually do real work. And that's when they recorded how the founders and the board members of the Islamic Association for Palestine, Hamas's infrastructure in the United States, decided to create an organization and named it as CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations. And the president of the Islamic Association for Palestine, Omar Ahmed, became the founder of CAIR, and the director of PR, Nihad Awad, became the executive director of CAIR. So CAIR has a long line of association with terrorist organizations overseas, even receiving money from foreign governments. We knew that all along. And the people and the people that covered up for CAIR and protected them was President Obama and Eric Holder, his attorney general.
Yeah, you bring up something interesting. So the Biden administration tapped CAIR. This was in 2023. Well, I'll get to that. So, the Biden administration, they tapped CAIR as its national strategy to counter anti-Semitism. Remember this? But then they had no choice but to reverse course after video went viral showing CAIR's executive director, who you just brought up, Nihad Awad, celebrating the October 7th massacre and praising the actions of terrorists. Why has the Obama and Biden administration been so friendly to CAIR? And could what's happening in this lawsuit finally be, a nail in the coffin? I mean, like you just said, they were investigated by the FBI, in the Obama administration, but they continue to thrive in the United States.
Exactly. During the Holy Land Foundation trial, which took place in Dallas, Texas in 2007 and 2008, that's when our government handed down all the indictment. And, CAIR was an unindicted co-conspirator. As soon as the election happened and Obama came to power, Eric Holder put the kibosh on handing down the indictment and covered up for CAIR. Actually, under the Obama administration, over 350 times, CAIR was recorded as visiting the White House. The Obama administration and later the Biden administration were basically partnering with CAIR on so many levels against the United States and in support of actually the enemies of the United States. So it's about time. We have this lawsuit right now that backfired on CAIR, where during the discovery, CAIR is going to have to give the names of their donors and their funders. Sweet revenge. What can I say? It's karma. The reason why it took so long for something like this to happen, because organizations like mine and other organizations, we didn't even have the money to go up against CAIR because CAIR was so flushed with cash, unrealistic type of cash that could only be raised in the United States. So we knew they were getting money from overseas. This is why organizations like ours, who are funded by small American donors who really care about protecting the country, couldn't even go up against the hundreds of thousands and millions that was coming into CAIR's coffers from all different directions.
Well, it's going to be really interesting what happens in this lawsuit and what, will be revealed, because as you're saying, it's going to be sweet revenge, and, we're going to have to see. But I also want to talk about this, Donald Trump's head of the FBI, his pick, Kash Patel, this has sent, mainstream media into a total tailspin. But a lot of people are excited and ready for him to clean house. I want to play a clip of Senator Bill Hagerty saying he's hopeful Patel will investigate abuses, especially officials who should have never been handed classified information. Listen.
How could we have somebody like Colin Kahl who tweeted out classified information? I went to the FBI myself. They ignored me. Basically, he was confirmed on a party line vote in the U.S. Senate with Kamala Harris, breaking the tie to put this person that should not even have a security clearance in the third most powerful position at DOD. You've got Rob Malley. I don't know how he cleared an FBI check. He's now under investigation. His ties to the Iranian influence regime that worked with him and for him. Ariane Talatabi, who is still at the DOD, should never clear an FBI background check.
Okay, Brigitte, you're a national security analyst. Why were Robert Malley, Ariane Tabatabai given these high-level clearances, and why are we still in the dark about the investigations into them, which Robert Malley seems to be a story that is really big and has been buried? I mean, he's lost his security clearance last year, and he just kind of poof went away, and nobody's asking why. What happened?
Exactly. And if you notice, there is a threat, the continuation from the Obama administration, because remember, Robert Malley worked with Obama. Actually, when Obama was running for president in 2007 up and 2008, he sent Robert Malley to Gaza, who met with Hamas. And they were actually phone banks from Hamas calling people Muslims in Detroit, telling them you need to vote for Obama because Obama is on our side and he will be good for the Palestinian cause. This was Robert O'Malley back in 2008 under Obama when Obama was running for president. So you can see the continuation of these terrorist sympathizers and terrorist agents or treasonous people working within our government under the cover of the Democratic Party, supported by the Democratic Party and leadership, whether through the Obama administration, the continuation through the Biden administration. Because let's face it, Biden wasn't running the country, so it's the leftovers of the Obama administration running the country for the last 4 years. And that's why you see these names of these people who are embedded within the deep state, working with our enemies, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Iran, whether whatever bad actors and bad regime against the United States. It seems that the Democratic Party never fails to cozy up, support, and coordinate with the enemies of the United States against the United States. I cannot wait for Kash Patel to take leadership at the FBI and clean house, go after them, uproot them, kick them out, investigate them. I would launch an investigation into CAIR. CAIR should be the first organization investigated. Robert Malley, all the others, these are not the only people within the deep state. There are many others. President Trump could not have chosen someone better than Kash Patel to head the FBI.
Well, and then, there's so many different organizations, AMP, SJP. There have been a lot of reports, people investigating. There's so much in front of our eyes saying that, when the Holy Land Foundation, Kind Hearts, all of those were shut down, a lot of the similar people just went to these other different organizations and they've just weaved themselves into AMP, SJP, the protests that we've seen on our college campuses. Do you believe that's going to be looked into as well?
I hope they will. I hope Cash Patel will look into it. They should look. They say to overnight success in business. They say an overnight success takes 20 years. I apply that to everything. We are seeing right now on college campuses with the demonstration, with the brainwashing, with the infrastructure and organization that started with the Islamic Student Association, and now we see it basically like tentacles through so many different organizations. That all started 20 years ago. We started seeing those links building and building and building, and people ignored them and people ignored them. And when we would sound the alarm on it, people would call us Islamophobe. Look, ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America, were advisors to President Obama about Middle East policy. You talk about the fox watching the hen house. So it's about time we clean house. It's about time we launch real investigation and get the FBI back to actually doing the real work the FBI of 20 years ago used to do in order to clean house and protect our country.
Yeah, it seems like law enforcement has been focusing, on Americans here in this country and taking their eyes off of, the real threat that is happening right in front of our eyes. I mean, you grew up in Lebanon as a Christian. Your village was bombed by radical Islamists. You and your family, you found refuge in Israel. Tell us how, this shaped your latest bestseller, Rise.
I ended up moving to Israel from Lebanon in 1984, becoming a news anchor for World News in the Middle East, and covering the news from 1984 till 1989. And I started seeing a rise of radical Islamic terrorism across the globe. And as I read the news night after night, I started realizing that what I used to think was a major problem in the Middle East by the majority Islamists trying to either kill or expel the minority Christians and Jews had become a worldwide problem, but the world was not connecting the dots. I ended up coming into the United States, and I ended up, especially after 9/11, writing my books about terrorism. I made it my life's mission because of the way terrorism affected my life and destroyed my life and my home in Lebanon. And as you know, I'm in exile. I can never go back to Lebanon because Hezbollah, a terrorist organization, controls the country. And I started writing my books not only to educate Americans about the threat of radical Islamic terrorism to the world, to our security and the world's national security, but also what we can do to combat it. And that's how I wrote 3 New York Times bestsellers. The latest is Rise. And I encourage people to get them. I encourage people to go to my website, actforamerica.org. actforamerica.org. We need to take our country back. We are the largest grassroots national security and freedom organization in the United States. We helped pass 247 bills on the federal level and the state level to protect America. Go to actforamerica.org right now. Check us out. Sign up to get our action alerts, especially now that President Trump is going to be coming into office. We're going to be notifying people about bills coming down for a vote, so they can make their voices heard. We want to make sure that President Trump's administration gets approved, all his appointees be able to take office, so we can start cleaning up our country.
Brigitte, a lot of people don't understand the Middle East, for, not just Americans, the world. They want to believe that their next door neighbors are decent and nice humans and they wouldn't lie and they wouldn't commit terrorism. But the Middle East is so complicated. So when you see Americans or you see young people here on our streets with Hamas flags, with Hezbollah flags, like they have no idea what would happen to them if they went there. Like, you're in exile. You can't even go back.
Now, I can't go back. My children can go back. The last time I was able to see my home, I was standing in Misgav Am at the border between Lebanon and Israel in 2018. I took my children and my husband, and through binoculars, I was showing my children my home across the hill at the next hill, saying, this is my home. This is the hospital your father built. This is the school my father built. This is the church my father built. My parents did so good in the community that my children will never lay eyes on what their grandparents have created. And that's why I tell people all the time, what good is it creating wealth if you cannot give your children a country in which to live? I know that here in America, we are so driven to, we want to accomplish, we want to build, we want success, we believe the good in everybody. And that's all wonderful. And we need to do all these things, but we have to be wise. I hate to quote the Bible, but there's a quote in the Bible that says, be as kind as dove and as wise as serpents. We have mastered the be as kind as dove because we as Jews and Christians, people who come from that world, we want to do good unto others the way we want others to treat us. You know, we are do-gooders, but we have forgot to remember the latter part of that verse, be as wise as serpents. We are not being wise, and it's about time we start being wise. We can be good, we can be nice, we can do good unto others, but we have to be wise when we realize that evil is starting to encroach into our home to destroy our home. We cannot welcome evil. We have to have the backbone to stand up and identify evil and call it by its name. And it's not comfortable, but we have to do it, and we have to uproot it and outroot it out of our society, out of our colleges, out of our communities, so we can live together in peace. People from all faith can live harmoniously in peace as long as we root out evil.
I mean, you're so well versed on this, obviously, Middle East policies. You know, if you got a call from the Trump administration, are you going?
Well, I am here to help the Trump administration and have been helping the Trump administration the last 4 years when he was president, and will continue the next 4 years. We are here to work together to do everything we can to make sure that people who are governing our government will have a complete understanding of the Middle East, of the enemies we are facing, and how we can deal with those enemies. And I believe President Trump and his team, whom I work closely with, all get it. They understand the Middle East. They know exactly what to do. And look, we are seeing the fruits already of President Trump's election. World leaders are crawling to Mar-a-Lago, meeting with him. They are fearing him. They know a new sheriff is coming to town, and things are going to be very different than the last 4 years.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done, that's for sure. And hopefully he can, you know, get a lot of it done with the help of people like you. Brigitte, Gabriel, as always, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you for having me with you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.